Hello, everyone. Sorry for the bit of silence there. Okay, so we're gonna, well, explain, two cards today. That being Branded in White and Branded Fusion. So, Branded Fusion. Branded Fusion allows you to fusion summon one monster that mentions Fallen of Alvaz from the extra deck, using two monsters from your hand or deck to, of course, special summon a fusion monster from the extra deck. Now for Branded in White. Branded in White has the same effect, but it does mention a dragon monster, so you can do, say, Dark Magician and Red Eyes. In order to make, of course, either Dark Magician the Dragon Knight, or my personal favorite, Dark Dragoon. However, of course, you could go for the recommended monsters such as Albion the Branded Dragon, or Albion the Sanctifier Dragon, or of course Lubellion the Searing Dragon, or another one of my favorites, Mirror Jade the Iceblade Dragon. So, what Mirror Jade does is you can, of course, fusion summon it with one Synchro Fusion Xyzra Link monster. You can only control one Mirror Jade on the field per turn, or at least per duel. However, if this goes to the graveyard, you can summon another one in its place, doing Branded Fusion and the monsters that are either, Synchro, Xyzed, Fusion, or Link. But once per turn, you can send one fusion monster from your graveyard that mentions Fallen of Albaz as the material. You can banish, or the player, I should say. The player can, of course, banish one card on the field, albeit it has to be a monster. If this fusion summon card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, I can destroy all monsters you can destroy all monsters your opponent controls. However, that's not the main focus here. The reason why I brought up Mirror Jade is because Branded Fusion and Branded in White can both play into Mirror Jade. But here's a big one. Lubellion and Albion can both either be played at 2 or at 1. Sorry about that, I didn't mean to hit the mic. But yeah, you can play Mirror Jade and Lubellion and Albion both at 2, or have 2 of Albion, 1 of Mirror Jade, and 1 of Lubellion. Sorry about that. I started yawning and I didn't want you all to hear that. Anyway, Branded Fusion can go into many cards, such as the dragon that devours the dogma. This card is a good card. Be it, of course, Fallen of Albaz in one light or dark monster, plus effect monster. While an Ecclesial monster is on the field or graveyard, in either graveyard, this card gains 500 attack. Also, it is unaffected by other card effects. You can only use the effect of the following effects. of the Dragon that Devours the Dogma. Once per turn, if this card is special summoned, you can shuffle up to 2 cards from any graveyard and or banishment into the deck. During the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add 1 Dogmatica or Tri-Brigade card from your deck to your hand. So, say you want to summon this card. You'll have to have 1 Fallen of Albaz, 1 Light Monster, so say Ecclesia, Incredible Ecclesia, or Dogmatica Ecclesia the Virtuous, but I would prefer Incredible Ecclesia and these 2, but that's not all. The Virtuous. You could also go with Blazing Cartesia for the light monster. But my personal opinion would be Dogmatica hold on, give me a minute. Albion the Shrouded Dragon for the dark. So you could use these 3 to get the Dragon that Devours the Dogma. Now here comes the fun part. Sanctifier Dragon. It cannot be used as fusion material. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. You can only use each of the following effects of Albion the Sanctifier Dragon once per turn. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can target 2 monsters in any graveyard, special summon both monsters, 1 to each field. If this card is in your graveyard, you contribute 4 monsters, the 2 in the extra monster zones and 2 in the central main monster zones, and if you do, special summon this card. So, say you want to go for that, and you don't have a spellcaster. Well, you're in luck, because Branded Fusion here allows you to, of course, fusion summon from the deck. So you can, of course, go for Incredible Ecclesia, Dogmatica Ecclesia the Virtuous, or one of my personal favorites, Effect Veiler. You can, of course, run 2 of these, or run 1, depending on how you play the deck. It is recommended that you run 2 or 3. But my point is that if you want to go for Albion the Sanctifier Dragon, you're gonna have to have Fallen of Albaz or one of these 3. But of course, that doesn't mean you're out of options. You also have, let's see, if I go over to show filters, monsters, of course, fusion, and type in that mentions Fallen of Albaz, you can sorry, not mentions Fallen of Albaz, Fallen of Albaz, and you go from guess not. Okay, so I'm guessing you can just go to all cards, or I could just go for fusion and go from there. Monster category fusion. Okay, so what I was getting at was that say you want to go for. Okay, be right back. I have the deck in real life in my space somewhere, so be right back once I find it, okay? Sorry that took so long. I am here with the cards right now. And, of course, the cards, of course, you can go with. Ah, Garganol. Or Granganol? Is it Yeah, Granganol. Granganol can, of course, do a lot. So, if you really want to put some damage on your opponent, you are really going to want to put Granganol. But, of course, Granganol requires Blazing Cartesia, which, if you remember me saying, Blazing Cartesia. But yeah, Blazing Cartesia. No, hold on. Be right back. I'm gonna. Wait. Cartesia. What? Clear filters. Okay, so. Blazing Cartesia. She is going to be needed for the fusion summon with one light or dark monster. Albeit you have both of them being Fallen of Albaz or Dogmatic Ecclesia or Incredible Ecclesia the Virtuous. But there is also another card that can also be really good when played correctly. And that card is Albalinitus the Abyss Dragon. Albalinitus the Abyss Dragon. Sorry, I keep repeating the name. I'm typing it right here so I won't forget. Okay, so with said Abyss Dragon, you can use Branded Fusion or Branded in Light in order to summon Albalinitus, the Abyss Dragon. Its effect is that it cannot be used as fusion material. It must be fusion summoned or special summoned by sending the above cards from any monster zone to the graveyard. It can attack monsters a number of times each battle phase, up to the number of materials used for it. But here's the thing. It's, I'd say, quote unquote, better effect is once per turn during the end phase of this card is sent to the graveyard. It will, because it was sent there this turn, you can add one polymerization or normal fusion spell, or of course being branded fusion or branded in light. And of course you can then end your turn with a variety of monsters. But I would recommend something very good. Something very good being infinite impermanence. Infinite impermanence effect is, well, target one face-up monster your opponent controls, negate its effect until the end of this turn. Then if this card was sent before activation and is on the field at resolution, for the rest of this turn, all other spell trap effects in this column are negated. If you do control no monsters, you can activate this card from... if you control no cards, not monsters, cards, you can activate this card from your hand. So, say your entire board got wiped out. Say, for example, it got negated or it got Dark Hole. Dark Hole is an especially dangerous card to go up against. But what I'm going and trying to say is, say that you're going against a Dark Hole. You can negate the effect. Actually, never mind. No, you can't. Infinite impermanence doesn't work that way. But say your monsters and field gets wiped out, and you have this card in your hand. Activate it, target one monster on the field, and of course, negate the effect. But that's not the only one you could do. You could, of course, go for Ash, Blossom, and Joyous Spring. Its effect is also one of my favorites. When a card or effect is activated that includes one of these effects, you can discard this card, and if you do, negate the effect. However, it is a hard once per turn, but it is recommended that you use Ash Blossom. Or any of the hand traps such as, say, Effect Veiler, or another one of my favorites. Yes, I have a lot of favorites, I know, but hey, it's part of the game and part of life. Anyway, Ghost Ogre. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit is also a favorite of mine as well. And its effect is that it can negate any card that is already on the field. But be careful, because of the fact if you send this card and your opponent has Called by the Grave, then you might want to retry the thing again. Because of the fact this can send this to the banished zone. We don't want that. I mean, you kind of do in this deck, or this type of scenario, I mean. Because if you have this banished, or Effect Veiler, and you can pop, of course, Branded Fusion, have that special summon, or fusion summon I should say, Albion, the event, I'll be on the Branded Dragon, not the Shrouded, not the Sanctifier, but I'll be on the Branded. Because of the fact, if you do that, you can pop Branded Fusion, send Fallen of Albaz, and Dogmatica, special summon, of course, I'll be on the Branded Dragon, pop its effect, and then banish Fallen of Albaz and Albion, the Shrouded Dragon, back to the deck. You can summon Lubellion, the Searing Dragon. Lubellion, the Searing Dragon's effect, then, of course, activates on its summon. You can discard one card, preferably any card, because this scenario can of course go literally anywhere, but you will have to discard a card. Now, for the fun part, you can of course send Fallen of Albaz, Incredible Ecclesia, or Dogmatica Ecclesia the Virtuous alongside Ghost Ogre or Effect Veiler, depending on which one is banished. Thus, of course, you can send those back to the graveyard, special summon said card called the Dragon That Devours the Dogma. But of course, that goes with some restraints. Because if you do that, you might be locked into fusion summons. But that's okay, because of the fact, since you're only going to be fusion summoning anyway, you might as well just accept the fact that you can do a lot with fusion monsters. But that's a bit for another video. That's a time and type of video for next time. Now, I am gonna clear. I'm gonna go for Access Code Talker. And this is a Link monster. A Link monster is, of course, a monster from the extra deck. It can be either really strong and helpful, or really weak and rather disappointing with its effect. But Access Code Talker is the first. Being, if this card is Link Summon, you can target one Link monster that was used as its Link material, and this card gains its attack equal to its Link rating times 1,000. You, the player, can banish one Link monster from your field or graveyard, destroy one card your opponent controls. As for the rest of this turn, you cannot banish monsters with the same attribute to activate this effect of Access Code Talker. So, that can either be really good or really bad depending on what situation you're in. So that is why I recommend IP or IP Masquerena or SP Little Knight, because of the fact these two can be sent to the graveyard for this. But the problem is, you cannot banish monsters with the same attribute, which is a bit improbable, I guess. No, embarrassing, but there are monsters out there that can have Link ratings of any type and stuff like that. But what I'm trying to say is that, say you have a light Link monster, say Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, although you would not be able to do that. But what I'm trying to say is that if you go for, say, Encode Talker to, and of course IP Masquerena, you can go for Access Code Talker and then banish Encode Talker to, of course, get this. Actually, wait, you can't even do that. I'm sorry for being wrong, but so say you want to Link summon into Access Code Talker, you can of course go with either Encode Talker, Decode Talker, or any other link monster that can, of course, really help with the deck. However, I will recommend that you don't overdo it with the link monsters, because if you do, you might be in a bit of trouble, and we don't want that, do we? But what I'm trying to say is that, say for example, you go for, of course, sorry, I went silent there. I was trying to figure out a okay, so say for example you go for Borrelsword Dragon. Wait, no, that won't work. Okay, now, say you go with Topologic Bomber Dragon and IP Masquerena. You can then link summon and go Talker, in turn able to summon SP Little Knight, and then special summon to your field access code Talker. Sorry, I'm rambling, but what I'm trying to say is that you really shouldn't rely on anything but link monsters, unless it's, say for example, something that revolves around link monsters. Say for example, rockets. Rockets are something that can really go good with any type of... Okay, say for example I go with rocket. You can go with either Metal Rocket Dragon, Rocket Tracer, which is a tuner and can of course be going for a different card. But hey, if we go to here, yeah, I know Borrelode Savage Dragon is banned, but the thing is, that's not what we're here for. We're here for, say, Borrelode Fatal Flare Dragon. If this card is Fusion Summon, you can add one rocket monster from your deck. But that's not what we're gonna focus on. We're gonna go and focus on the, of course, Borrel Dragons, such as Borrelode Dragon, Borrelsword, Quad Borrel Dragon, and Mini Borrel Dragon. So you can have multiple rockets in this deck and make a really good type of deck. However, you can, of course... damn it. Okay, anyway, so you can then, of course, go... Sorry, my hand decided to scratch against the mic. Anyway, that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. Comment down below what type of video I should do next. And with that, I shall bid you all farewell. Later.